Hey, hello everybody. Thanks for coming. I'll talk to you about self-sovereign crypto accounting. First of all, a little bit about myself. I'm Lefteris. I've been in Ethereum since 2014. I worked on the Solidity language and then the C++ client. And then I worked with Christoph Jens on something called the DAO and the cleanup of that. Maybe you've heard of it. Then I was tech lead for many years for Raiden Network. It's what the Lightning Network was for Bitcoin, or is for Bitcoin, was supposed to be for Ethereum, but we prefer in Ethereum right now rollups, so that didn't work out. And I'm the founder of Rotki, which is basically accounting, portfolio management tool, open source. And I'm going to talk to you about accounting today. So these are some of my favorite memes. You probably have seen it. I'm going to try to explain like the absurdity of it. Like, yes, hello IRS. My client bought crypto dickbats for 0.2 ETH. He then used some kind of NFT trader to exchange them for crypto dickbats for 3 winter bears. Then the winter bears, they were sold for 1.7 ETH profit. Then they were exchanged for sold to mint crypto dickbats, but devs ragged projects and left the client because they were, and I quote, in it for the art. So, and the question that the accountant has is, even though they ragged, can the client deduct the gas fees? So this may sound stupid, this may sound absurd, but these are questions that we see daily, both from our users and we try to explain to accountants that we have worked with, like curve bribing or stuff like this. The accountants think that we are joking, but yeah, this is the reality of doing accounting for crypto. It's a lot of info. You have many jurisdictions. You have many exchanges, many protocols, many chains, and then on top of that, each one of us lives in a different country. And even in the Union here, even in the European Union, each country has a completely different way of doing accounting. Also, information is very hard to query. So we have, let's say, chains, very, very small, that have no more nodes that are running. So it's not possible to query this information. Then we have exchanges like, most recently, FTX, that no longer exist. Yet you have traded a lot, maybe you have made profit, maybe you have made loss. You want to declare this, it's not possible anymore. What do people do? Well, what people do right now is use narcware. So it's basically always centralized software that are running on a server, whose data can be sold or leaked. You do not have ownership of your data. It can cease to exist, and it's not something that like it's just fear mongering. This is something that can actually happen. It has happened to people in this industry, like Amin from Spankchain, like the accounting platform that they used at some point went out of business. Friederike from Gnosis, the startup that they were using went out of business, and the transaction data was gone. Can you imagine that? Like, if anybody of you has actually had any significant amount of transactions that they spend time doing accounting for, or labeling, tagging, maybe for days, maybe for weeks, and then at some point you just lose access to everything. You every day that you worked on labeling those beautiful transactions, it's just gone. On top of that, most of this is closed source. So I find this as an oxymoron that we use closed source tools in order to do accounting for open source decentralized finance. The biggest problem with this is that you have no idea how everything is calculated. And you need to. You cannot just trust them, because you will need to be able to take this number and take it to the IRS, to the Finanzamt, or wherever you live. And you also need to be able to challenge the tool, which is something that has happened multiple times with us. And then users go and look at the code, and then they say, okay, this is not how it should be done, or this is how it should be done. And we have had cases where we talked with some users, they audited our code because they wanted to make sure that the number is correct, and then they went to other tools and corrected them, told them that they are doing something wrong, they can't see how, but that the open source tool like Rotki does it correctly, so they should just copy our code and figure out how we do this. So the point of being closed source, what's the problem is that you cannot challenge the result. So why does everybody build closed source? Like, Why does everybody build in this sector closed source software as a service? People are not evil. There is valid reasons to do this. If anybody here is a developer, you probably know it's much easier to write. Like you target only a single architecture, it's also much easier to update. When you have a browser, let's say, you have to download the new version, they fix the bug. That's the only way in order to be able to get your fixes in. But if you are a server, you just update your server and there is a new version. And you don't target Mac, Linux, Windows, Mac M1. You target the architecture of your server. So these are all kind of valid reasons that you would want to use closed source, SaaS. But then people also do closed source. And one of these reasons that they give is the preservation of their moat. You know, like they say, this is our IP, this is my intellectual property. I will protect it with my life. The source should be closed, the source should be proprietary, the source should be business license or whatever. In reality, in most of the cases, your moat is something that you don't realize, which is the technological knowledge of your team and not your source code, and also your reputation, which can be destroyed by using closed source licenses. So a lot of apps, a lot of accounting apps even try to call themselves DApps. DApps in our day, be it accounting or not, means those things, unfortunately. It means you have a centralized server architecture, all data is stored remotely, there is complete lack of privacy, lack of data control. You can lose, as we said, at any point access to the data. It's like your shiny DApp, but it's our data. All of the data is in our server, so we share the data. And you are at the mercy of leaks and hacks, always. But then Lefteris, what are you talking about? We have a privacy policy. And the privacy policy, what does it say? Do you know what the privacy policy says, Anon? It always says that we respect your privacy. Like, this is what every single privacy policy starts with. We love you guys, we respect your privacy. So let's see how people respect your privacy. This is one accounting software as a service called Accounting. I don't single them out for any particular reason. Most of the such software have the same privacy policies. So what data do they process? Technical data, such as IP, logs, or anything else that they can see about you from your system. If anybody has run a server, you know that you can find locations, you can find operating system versions, browser versions, basically everything you want to know about the user. Then registration data. So how did you go to the particular server? How did you manage to authenticate? Communication data, like emails, DMs, letters, whatever have you. Master data. So this is basically the core of what you should be afraid of. Master data in most of the privacy policies, and in particular for them, it means everything you give them. So they keep everything, like your accounts, your API keys, your net worth, and then you combine that with contract data. Contract data is pretty standard for businesses. So, what is your name? Where do you live? How much are you paying me? But combine that also with your entire net worth in crypto and where is it, and then you start to get a very, very ugly picture of data that they have about you. As if that wasn't enough, they also get the behavioral and preference data, so they see how you use the app. So how does a rich guy that lives in Spain uses my app, or a poor guy that lives in, I don't know, Italy? And again, as if that wasn't enough. At the end, they have other data, and the other data has 4 paragraphs, which is underlined at the very end. What they try to say is that they will collect everything they can about you from public sources, also as far as is it not unlawful. But they respect your privacy, so you should be happy. This is like the Harold meme with you try to use such a website, and then after some time, someone comes and some people with black suits wants to talk to you. So what is the solution? The solution is to remove the need for trust. Like, privacy policy doesn't matter. I don't give a flying, I don't know if I can show it here. Yes, that thing. I don't care what the privacy policy says. It can actually say that they keep no data. I don't care. I don't trust you. We should remove the need for trust. It just doesn't matter what it says. I don't care if you have a privacy policy. It means the same exact thing to me. You should not fear the privacy policy, but you should instead fear the internet with DB access. Because they can accidentally do a lot of things. They can open DB access to the public, which is how most of the leaks have happened, even though I'm pretty sure it wasn't. The internet was some software engineer, senior probably. They can drop the database, they can delete all tables. We should be choosing that an app or a platform or anything cannot be evil over not being evil. So don't give them data and just command them, you should just be good and not leak my data. Just don't give them the data. So how can we build this? We can build this with what I like to call self-sovereign applications. Perhaps we have heard of self-sovereign identity. It's kind of the same thing, but applied on data and applications that use this data. So, sole ownership over the ability to control your data. That means that we don't just send data to narcware and hope they respect their own privacy policy, but we have an app that is open and we can control how we share our data. So we have complete agency and say over the data and handling and sharing. What's more, you should have the ability to audit the code so that you don't need to trust Lefteris. You know, you can't say, okay, well, Lefteris has been in this field for very long, I trust him. That's like, really, don't trust me. Don't trust anybody. Trust that the code that you see does what I'm saying it does. Like, does what it does. Basically, either you yourself or find someone who can read code and just see that everything that someone is telling you, so that no data is phoned home, no data is leaked, so that this is actually the right case. You can achieve that through local first software. Many people, especially in Twitter, hear me talking about local. It doesn't mean that we should use offline apps. We are not like in the 90s. Of course, we live in an interconnected world, but something that Martin Klebman made in this seminal paper, local first software, you own your data in spite of the cloud, is to introduce the idea of local first software. That means software that is basically keeping the majority of the functionality local. So that's the guy, that's Klebman. He's a really smart engineer and has many nice books about engineering in general. The data should be stored locally. The majority of the functionality should be local. We focus on privacy and security of the user. The network will be used because we live in an interconnected world, but it's not going to be, I don't know, like these cloud apps now that you press a keystroke and that is basically a round trip to some server. This is not how apps should be built. So self-sovereign applications should also be open source. Open source is beautiful, open source is magic. In my opinion, I'm a very strong proponent of open source. Tomorrow we'll be debating at 3:20, I think, with Julian, open source versus closed source, I think here in the Bastille room. But what is open source? So let's start with something that, like, I have been saying since forever, and it's crazy that we have to repeat this even with people that have been in the field for a very long time. If your source code is open, that does not make your code open source. It may sound like it because it's open source, but that is something called source available. So again, really important. If you remember anything from this conversation is that readable source code does not mean open source. What is then open source? It's these 10 things. And there are people who have argued with me that, oh, you know, no, you're talking about the free and open source software while we are talking about open source software. That's bullshit. You should read the sources that you're coding. The FOSS and OSS, they are exactly the same thing. And you should just read the definitions. Like if someone sends me the FSF definition of open source and they don't read it, I don't know what to say. So what is open source? Open source means that, yes, the source code is open, but also it can be freely redistributed. So this freedom is the most important part about what open source means. You can create derived works. You need to preserve the author's source code. There should be no discrimination. it should not be specific to a product and blah, 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 blah. But it's generally about freedom. So as we said, everything else is source available, like Uniswap, Aave, all of that stuff that have put the business source license. They are source available, they are not open source. What is the benefit of open source then? It's transparency. With this transparency, you can actually audit the code, you can see what it does, but then you'll say, Lefteris, this is also what source available does. Open source, what is the good about the ability to copy? Why should you let someone copy? So it's not black and white. You shouldn't let everybody copy, and not every kind of software needs this kind of license. But if you want to involve community, if you are creating a protocol, if you ask people to contribute to your project, like Uniswap does, for example, then you need open source, because this is how you involve your community and you attract talent. You also prevent things like what we have right now with the big giants like Apple, for example. Open source creates this freedom that by definition does not allow vendor lock-in and data capture. And we are all building on soldiers of giants, right? Like Linux is open source, Ethereum is open source. The first protocols of Ethereum are open source. Each one is a new giant that is building on top of other giants. Then you come and you close this. That's leeching. That's really like, as Gabriel Shapiro put it, it's a tax on innovation. Because you are saying, okay, I'm going to build on top of you guys, but that's it. So we have 5 minutes, yeah? So I'm going to show an example of such an app. And that's Rotki. We're fighting for the sanity and privacy in crypto. So what is Rotki? Rotki is a portfolio tracking tool that also allows management and it protects your privacy. It's a local application. All of the data is local. This is like, for example, how the dashboard looks like. It gives you a bird's eye view of all of your assets. So say how much you have in Kraken, in various blockchains, in your bank, and gives you historical data graphs, for example, like this is your net worth here. You can also get a per asset breakdown. So how much of my net worth is in ETH. And then you can also click it and see how much is in mainnet, how much is in Optimism, and so on and so forth. And you can use your local currency, like you can see it in euros, or if you're in Britain in pounds, etc. One of the things that we are most proud about is this kind of views, the historical events, where we saw all events that we can decode about you. So how many ETH deposits you have, how many ETH staking withdrawals, all of your transactions, how they are decoded. For example, Optimism transaction here, a mainnet transaction for Lefteris.eth, and also transactions in exchanges, and a lot of other events. All that cultivates into the accounting part that basically allows you to create a P&L report that with some massaging, it's not like perfect, can be given to a tax accountant through a CSV export that basically just gets imported in a spreadsheet like this, and then you give it to your accountant. What's more, with some protocols we have more details, like here liquidity. You can see details like where is your staking, how much you have in staking liquidity, how much you have in stability pool. For Ethereum staking, right? This is something that most of our users like, and it's completely filterable. So say you want to see how much from the May 1st to May 15th was withdrawn from validator 1337. You can also manage identities, because if you want to represent a different category, so you have private addresses and public addresses. You can tag them, and like, for example, Lefteris.eth is my public, let's say, and then this one, let's say, is my private, so you can know what is what. You can also add friendly names of addresses, and then you will see them in the history events. And you need to take control. Like we allow customization of how things are done. Say that you have your own node, you customize it, and you customize its probability for Optimism to be the highest. Then you have something like DeFi Llama, for example. Or where do you get the prices from? Where do you get the historical prices? Where do you get the current prices? Generally, it's about owning data. Everything is local. we have a backup manager, and we sync for the premium users encrypted data remotely as a backup, but this is only opt-in. It's not something that we force on you, and the data is always encrypted. So the idea of self-sovereign apps is to always allow the user to make choices that will make their life better, never enforce anything on them. So yeah, I try to go a bit faster towards the end. So this is a call to action. If anything of the stuff that I spoke about resounds with you, like resonates, sorry, we're hiring. Do you like Python? Do you like maybe Rust? Because we are also doing some modules in Rust now. And you want to contribute into open source privacy, local first self-sovereign apps, please talk to me either in DMs or later in the conference. I will be here all week. We also welcome open source contributors. We don't need to hire you. We can't hire everybody. We are very small. So please go to GitHub, find issues, join our Discord. We really try to help everybody. Use Rodkey daily. This is how you find bugs, and this is how you say, hey, Lefteris, this is so great, but you know what? This and this and this doesn't work. We really need this because this feedback really helps us. Buy premium. This is how you unlock our features and help a open source project that relies on a freemium model and spread the word. Because we're just builders. We don't have a marketing department. Like I am the marketing department here. So if you like what you hear and if you like how Rodkey looks like, then please be our marketing. Like talk to other people about it. And in this QR, there is basically a link tree that has all the links for everything that I said. Thank you. I guess that's all. Yeah, do we have questions?
Yeah, do you see local first data ever hitting a wall where if everybody is using 20 apps that are local first, is there a data storage problem that you foresee happening if this movement really catches on?
Well, it depends on the data. I guess if it is data that should be shared between multiple apps, then they should be like a package in the operating system.
Do you think that the average consumer hardware will always have enough data to support?
For something like Rodkey, if you use every chain and want to run every chain locally, absolutely not. No. Like, and I don't mean run. So Rodkey also connects to other services. Like we would not be able to. I mean, nobody could be able to run Optimism, Mainnet, Kusama, Substrate, and everything all in one machine. Even if you have a huge DApp node, like unless you just use a few. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot.